renting this place. At least we can't get in over our heads financially." "But think of it, David," Dwight's mother pressed. "If we had the land, we could grow enough food for all of us to eat. We could can fruit, pickle vegetables, and smoke fish and meat. We could have chickens and pigs. Abe's barn is big enough for dairy cows. We'll have our own milk and cheese." She paused a moment and then continued. "Besides, there's the trees Abe's planted, apples, cherries, pears. Think of it. The boys can eat their fill all summer long." "Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work. If I'd wanted to be a farmer, I would have been one years ago, Ida." "The boys and I will do it," Dwight's mother said. "You work hard enough for us. Let me help. I'll supervise the boys. Before you know it, we'll have the food we need growing in our own backyard. All we'd have to buy would be kerosene and materials to make clothes. Besides, we could rent out the barn if we had to. Abe says it holds 8 tons of straw. We could make it. I know we could." After this, there was silence, and all Dwight could hear was the click of his mother's knitting needles. He imagined his father had retreated into reading a book. More than anything, Dwight hoped his mother would win the argument and his parents would buy Uncle Abe and Aunt Anna's house. Dwight knew the place well. His uncle and aunt had owned it since long before he was born. It consisted of 3 acres of land on which sat a 2-story clapboard house and one of the biggest barns in the town of Abilene, Kansas. Up until now, Uncle Abe, Dwight's father David Eisenhower's younger brother, had been a veterinarian and used his land to raise chickens, horses, pigs, and rabbits, while Aunt Anna tended a chicken coop, a meat smoker, and a modest garden. At one end of the barn sat a gigantic table with an overhead hoist that Uncle Abe used when he did surgery on horses and cows. Dwight thought about the barn's high rafters to which the hoist was attached, and wondered if he had the courage to climb them. He made up his mind he would try in the near future with his brothers. Dwight had 4 brothers, though he knew his oldest brother, 11-year-old Arthur, probably wouldn't want to join in. Edgar and Dwight were the 2 daredevils of the family, always betting against each other that they couldn't do some death-defying feat. Arthur and Edgar were considered the big boys, which often left Dwight playing with his 5-year-old brother Roy, or even having to look after the new baby, Earl. There was a big gap between Roy and Earl because when Dwight was 4 years old, another brother, Paul, had been born and had died of diphtheria a year later. As he lay in bed that night, Dwight thought about Uncle Abe and Aunt Anna. They were members of a Mennonite group called the River Brethren Church. Sometimes Dwight's parents sent him and his brothers to Sunday school there, but Ida and Dave rarely went to the church themselves. Instead, his parents hosted a group from the International Bible Study at their house on Sunday afternoons. Uncle Abe, on the other hand, was an ordained River Brethren pastor, as was Uncle Ira, another of Dwight's uncles. And now, Uncle Abe and Aunt Anna were selling everything they had and heading out to the open prairies in a gospel wagon. It reminded Dwight of the old-fashioned covered wagons that once carried pioneer families all the way to Oregon. Dwight had heard Uncle Abe preach and thought he was good at it, and now he and Aunt Anna and 2 others were going to drive the gospel wagon south and preach to homesteaders. Just 5 years earlier, in 1893, the Cherokee Outlet, an Indian territory which neighbored Kansas to the south, was open to white settlement. Many homesteaders had rushed to stake land claims in the area without the money to build a house or have any way of feeding themselves once they got there. Life on the frontier was lawless. There were no schools and no churches, and Aunt Anna told Dwight that she and Uncle Abe felt called by God to go to the highways and byways to proclaim the gospel. She called it a highway and hedges ministry. A week after overhearing his parents' conversation,